Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another episode of Battle Bites here in World of Tanks. And today we are in the Aufklarungspanzerpanther, also known as the Awful Panther, in a Tier 8 standard battle on steps. And this tank is referred to as the Awful Panther, I think because maybe it used to be awful, but it's certainly not anymore, and it's certainly not, for the PC side, it's gone through some iterations, and it's not awful at all here on the console version of World of Tanks. I do enjoy this tank. It's a bit of a novelty in terms of a light tank. It's a light tank that is very heavy. Its camo rating isn't great, but it can ram other light tanks. It's an anti-light tank light tank. If you see another light tank and some mediums, you can ram them in this tank and cause some serious damage. But that's a last resort. That's not something you want to be trying to do on a regular basis, only when the opportunity presents itself. So what we're going to do in steps is get to this position, which I really like. And we're from the north here, so we're tucked in on the rock, and we are providing spotting for enemy tanks as they move down into the valley. And here we can see the IS, the Tier 7 Russian heavy tank, is moving into position. His view range is very bad, so we were able to spot him. We had him lit up for a little bit. We did not seem to be getting any fire support from our allies, so we put one into him, hoping for a little track there to stick him out in the open. But it didn't happen, and he gets down into the ridge. But we've spotted him for our allies, and we can see we have a heavy push coming down this eastern flank, and not much at all going down the western flank. So the IS, I think he saw a couple of our allies down in the valley, and he starts backing up. We put another shot into him, and then we pull back. We do not want to get hit by that gun. The armor on the Awful Panther, just like most light tanks, is not great. The front plate is better than most light tanks, but you're not going to bounce a lot of shells reliably, and certainly not from a 122 millimeter like the IS is probably using on the enemy tank there. So that one flies true. That one does track the tank. We put a second one in, and we're waiting to see. Okay, there we go. There comes the assistance and removes that tank from the game. So we're up 2-1, and it looks like that's all that's coming down the side. Usually there's more than one tank, but it looks like our whole team flooded the east, and their whole team is probably flooding the west. But we're not going to rush in just yet. It's still a little early, and we are in a light tank, so we don't want to get caught out too far in the open, advance too far. We're trying to provide some spotting and some vision, but we can see I do have two allies there to my left, two heavy tanks that are poking the ridge and providing some view range, and that's not really their job. That should be my job. So I'm going to get up here, be a little more aggressive, and try to extend some view range into the enemy base here, where there usually are a couple tanks poking and camping on this ridge line. So we can see there is a T-28 prototype, and I think it was a Tiger II there, two heavily armored tanks from the front, but the T-28 prototype from the side is a target that we can get through even with the small caliber gun here on the Awful Panther. The Tiger II we don't really have a shot at yet, but we can see our allies are once again advancing and pushing towards the enemy base. We definitely have this flank, and we need to push because the enemy is pushing up to the north, close to our base in the west. So we need to finish up here. We need to use our numbers, secure this flank, and then go help out the remaining other side of the map. And as we push here, we see a couple of things. We spot a T-32. This is a Tier 8 American heavy tank, and I don't know what he's doing back there. He's like camping in this back corner of the map, but in such a way that he almost can't provide fire support anywhere on the map. And then we also see the enemy artillery, the Russian Tier 7 artillery, and our allies put a big hit into him. He was on very low health, and we do a little bit of a snapshot there before we're fully aimed, but it flies true, and we secure our first kill of the game. So now a little bit of a decision to make here. What am I supposed to do? I can push aggressively into the base and try and support an attack, or I can poke around with this T-32. I'm not sure what he's doing yet. I'm thinking maybe he went AFK. Maybe he just started the battle, realized he couldn't participate, so he came over here to park, and whoa, his gun is moving. He is not AFK, but thankfully our first hit into him sets him on fire. Now I know the reload on the T-32 is very long, and the reload on my Awful Panther is very quick, so I'm able to put a couple shots in to trade with him here. I can put in 2 or 3 for every one that he takes at me, but I'm still backing up. I don't want to get hit. We did take one big hit there, and we don't really want to take a second one. So it was a fairly effective trade. We trade about half of our health for about half of his, which is not ideal, but it could have been much worse there. So he's in a pretty good position there. His shot sails over our head. We're going to back off and look for a little bit of support. We are up 11-8. It looks like our allies were able to hold off that aggressive push up in the northeast. And so now we're in an okay position as long as we don't do anything silly here to throw the game away. And I do have some support from 3 tanks now. They're all heading this way. They've seen the T-32 that I've lit up. Looks like one of them might be going for the cap, but At this point, it's fine to start the cap, but let's see how this goes. We certainly don't want to throw the game away, but if we can take out another 2 tanks here and maintain a 3 or 4 tank advantage, we probably won't need to cap this out. So now one of my allies does go through here. He takes a hit, so now I'm thinking, okay, the guy's fired. He's aiming at the other tank. I can do some damage here. And not only, so I track him, not only does he ignore the other tank, he takes a shot at me. So he lets that big old caliber gun on that heavy tank put one into him. But now he's focused on the other tank. I take a hit to my ammo rack, which slows down my reload. I should have been quicker on the repair there. A bit of a misplay by me. I could have definitely had one more hit. You can see I was aiming for the machine gun port there on the T-32, which is a bit of a weak point on the frontal hull armor. But it looks like the rest of the battle on the map went very well. So there's only 1 tank left. We've got 5. So I'm trying to talk my allies into not capping. Let's finish off this last guy. It's a Tiger 2. There's a lot of health and experience and credits just waiting to be farmed from this guy. He's on 3/4, almost full health for that Tiger 2. So hopefully we can convince our allies to get off the base, and yes, we can. All right, great. So thank you to them. Not too much of a risk here to go after this tank. It is well armored. It is top tier heavy, but we've got 4 tanks left. So as long as we play smart, we should be able to clean this up. So we put 1 shot into the side of the Tiger. We put a second one in. Now again, we back up here. We don't want to take a hit. If we take a hit from that Tiger 2, we will probably be eliminated. So we need to do this smart. We're trying to keep him lit up, let our allies get some shots in. We'll take the assistance credit there, and then we'll put our shots in when we can. Now, I had the premium loaded there because there was just this top tier heavy left. I didn't want to bounce any shots. I was trying to turn this good game into a great one. I had his side there, so I certainly didn't need those rounds, and then I switched back to AP knowing that we're going to go for a flank here. So an ally put one into the side of the Tiger, set him on fire, and now that means we can come around the side. One into the flank, now we have the rear, and yes, we're able to finish him off there for our second kill and secure the victory for our team. Great result there in the Awful Panther on step. So we'll take a quick look at the post-game stats. You can see we did just under 1,400 damage and just over 1,600 assistance. So about 3,000 total damage, damage plus assistance damage, which is enough for a 30,000 credit game with our premium account. 3,500 XP for our first win of the game, which was our win of the day, which was doubled. And that was enough to secure, along with a couple other medals, the first class mastery badge. Not quite an ace tanker, not quite good enough in terms of the damage. I think we stalled out a little bit when we decided to go for the T-32. We might have been able to do a little more damage if we were more aggressive in terms of going after a bulk of the other targets that were left in the other sections of the map. But we still had a nice influence on the game and helped our team secure a win in a light tank. And you can see there we are, top of the team in terms of XP, 1,310 base XP, which again, it's a nice result. It's not earth-shattering, but a nice one for this tank in this matchup. That was for our 2 kills, and again, just about 1,400 damage and just about 1,600 assistance damage. Accuracy of the gun was very, very good there. We were at mostly closer range, so 19 shots fired and 17 of them went in. And again, for a light tank shooting at quite a few Tier 8 heavies, the penetration was good, 12 pens out of the 17 hits. So there it is, that's the Awful Panther. I am just about finished with this grind, which is coming up to the RU-251, is certainly the tank that I'm going to take when I finish the grind. I'm looking forward to that, and so now that I'm close to the end here, I want to give a couple of replays that I've been saving, my better battles in the tank, and discuss it in a bit of depth to highlight it for people who may be on the path of this German light tank to medium tank tech tree. So thank you for joining me. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.